films. I don't ask questions. I tried for this one because I was afraid of, because the subject is so. When you see the film, maybe it doesn't appear like that, but it's very very small subject. So I tried sometimes to have an interview or something like that, but I realized it was not okay. And so yeah, what is special when you are directing and filming is that the moment when you are filming, you can't be in contact with the person you are filming, but so you have to really to have a cooperation of the one who you're with. Sorry.
Who you're filming?
Yeah. Thank you. And so with him, what was very incredible is that after just really the second day of filming, I just told him, don't look at the camera, please. And also I explained him, of course, all the idea of the film, which is really about the work. So he had a big frame. I mean, I told him that it was all about the charcoal process and how he will do it. So he knew exactly what I wanted, and so we had a real cooperation. And what I think is that when you are filming a documentary, it's not like you are not a fly in the wall. I know this is the expression that, no, you participate to what's happening, and you can be at the initiative. You can have the initiative of a scene or something like that. For example, the discussion about the house. It's because I discovered I didn't know that before the filming, but while we were filming, I heard that they bought a piece of land to build the house. So I asked him to discuss that with his wife, and so there is this scene at night where he knew that. I mean, he knew that that I asked him to talk about it. So he's like an actor in a way, but he's talking about his own life. And what I think is that the documentary is not only observation; it's also creating a place where the character can be themselves in a more intense way or in a more explicit way. And I think that this kind of discussion that he had, he was more precise about his project than before, because of course he discussed about it before with his wife, but I don't think he was so precise. And so what I realized after, when there was a translation, because I didn't know exactly what he was saying.
You don't speak Swahili?
No, I don't speak Swahili. I had a translator, but he told me, they speak about the house. Okay. And so after that, when I had the translation, I realized that he was not only speaking the building of a house, he was really speaking about a future with harmony, with trees, with animals, and that's what I was saying about a place. The film is a place where you can put your dreams. And that's that's a very small thing that you can offer to the people you are filming. It's that they get a place to be themselves in a way where they can be really themselves, or what they dream of being.
Yeah, that would make sense. I was curious because there's some instances when he's pushing his bike along the dirt road, and this guy who's corrupt who wants a bag, and the bicycle flips over, and it's all sort of kind of beginning to look like a tragedy. Mm-hmm. He's sweating, and it seems like this Sisyphusian task for him to ever get this coal to the market. Did you ever feel like putting down the camera and helping him pushing the bike, or did you feel comfortable sort of staying in the role as being a filmmaker when shit hit the fan, so to speak? Or where was your empathy in terms of his journey?
Yeah, that's the big question. The first thing is that before the filming, the deal is that even if it doesn't look like that, everything that he does is very technical. Cutting the tree like he does, it's very technical. People were impressed that there was no, I don't know what the word for that, but you know, saw. But he did everything with his axe, and it's very precise. And it's the same with pushing his bike. The equilibrium of the bike, it's something very, it's very hard. So and especially on this kind of road. So he was in charge to tell me if if there was a problem, or if he was tired or anything. Of course, when he was tired or if he needed help, I put down the camera.
You
but
did.
yeah, it happened. But the rest of the time, no. And also the filming process is not exactly the reality. So it means that we spent more time on the road than if he had been alone. So it means that we had a lot of breaks. So I was not like in a position where, wow, someone is. I was not like having a break while he was walking. My way of being with him was to walk while he was walking, and of course, it's not so physically intense than what he does. But I mean, really, when you are filming, you are walking. I was not observational. I was walking with him, and my work was to emphasize what his work was. I mean, so all my sympathy, all my energy, and all my focus, and all my love, in a way, was about filming his work. It's not about pushing the bike behind him. You know, that's something I want to say. That I'm a documentarist. It doesn't mean that I'm not someone outside of it. I'm part of it, but my way of being there is to film.
Of course, as it should be, as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
One of the things, I mean, I love many things about this movie, but one of the things I loved is the slow pacing of the movie, in the sense that you are not a kind of filmmaker who is in a hurry to get to the next plot point. You could almost describe this as a kind of slow cinema. You know, we have slow cooking and slow food, and I think everything in our everyday lives is so much a rush. Fast edits, fast storytelling. You have to get to the next plot point. There has to be a payoff, and you don't seem to care about that very much as a filmmaker. And I think that's wonderful and courageous that you ask the audience to really take the time and get deeply into this very simple narrative. I'm curious to the ending of your film, in that sense, because you know it's a kind of a simple narrative. A guy has to chop the tree, take the coal to the market, make some money, and hopefully buy a house for his family. But then suddenly we cut to a church and a ceremony, which for me was a wonderful scene, but still it sort of was a little bit of a surprise that you spent. It's quite a long scene also compared to some of the other scenes in the movie. Could you talk a little bit about what was your motivation to, one, include that scene in the film, and two, is that something he usually does when he goes to the market to sell the coal, or is that an extraordinary thing that happened for the shooting? And finally, as an audience, I secretly had been hoping that he would have made a lot of money, gone home to the wife, and said, now we have the money to build a house for our family. That didn't happen. So the ending kind of puzzled me in a good way. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Christian ceremony and why you ended the film the way you did?
Okay, but before that, I will tell something about the fact it's slow.
Sure. It was a lot of things in one question.
Yeah. So maybe I will forget the rest of the question.
Okay, I'll remind you.
The first, it's a slow film in a way, because, and that's something that I did before, and I did a film about cows, the life of the cow. So it was really slow, because I think
this was a fast one. Compared to the cow
this
movie.
one, for sure. This is a thriller.
This is the thriller. Okay.
Because what I'm trying to do is to make a film as an experience, but as an emotional experience, but that emotion that comes from physical sensation. It's all about sensation, and sensation can't arrive with a shot of 2 seconds or 10 seconds. I think that you need time to feel the sensation of something material, of the hotness, of the dust, of the heaviness of something that you carry on. You need time to feel things, and when the chance that we have as a director is to oblige. We are like a dictator for the agents, and you can oblige someone to look at something that he will not pay attention if he was in the real life. So then I can oblige people to look at the wheel of the bicycle for 1 minute. And I think deeply that when you look at something when you are really focused on something, you enter in something else that is hypnotic, and where you can feel something that it's not the reality. It's something like that you can go high.
Would you say like a magical realism? Maybe?
Yeah, or like if you're on drugs,
Okay.
and
yeah.
you can look at something and wow, you discover the universe in it. So that's what I tried to do with the bicycle wheel. But okay, so yeah, you need time to have sensation, and that's why it's so slow. But the problem when you do that is not to get boring, not to be boring. So I try in each kind of shot not to be repetitive, and so you to get the sensation of you're on the way of something. You don't. I try not to show something I showed already, and that was my big challenge in this film, because of course someone who is pushing a bike on the road, it's difficult to have new ideas to show it. So that was the big thing. And
you did pretty well, I'd say, with the different framing of the journey on the bike. I never felt like the imagery was repetitive.
That's really a big work on editing for that. And so, about the final scene, that's the same idea. I come from France, and it's a Catholic country, and when you go to church, it's very calm, and you have this, I don't know here, but it's very calm. So I knew that if someone there would see the scene where everybody is screaming and going in trance, they will have like a sensation of repulsive sensation. Wow, what are they doing? And what I felt when I was there is that there was something very powerful which was happening. And so you need time to enter in this kind of ceremony. You can't just watch it for 1 minute or 2 minutes and have the sensation of what's happening there. And what I felt was something, and so what I tried was to progress in it in order to have the final song. When I was there, I filmed that song, and after that I cut the camera, and I knew that it was the end, because this song was so emotional that I knew that there was nothing higher than that. So I tried to, in this scene, that's why it's so long, to when you arrive at this moment, you feel something. And I think it's not possible if you make it in 2 minutes. It's not possible. And that's also the reason why after that I can't go back to the village and explain everything, and the emotion. It's a film. It's not real life. And also he didn't get the money for the roof.
Okay. So it would have been an unhappy end in the end if we had gone back to the village.
Yeah, and also that's something maybe is not very clear in the film. It's that the big oven that he make. He doesn't take all the charcoal for the first trip. He made 8 other trips back and
okay.
from the village to the city. So he got more money, but not in one trip. So
from that one tree that he cuts down in the beginning, there's 8 trips to the city to
Yes.
sell coal.
Yes.
And by the end of the 8th trip, there may be
you can
money for the house.
Yeah.
But in other words, literally what you're saying is that the emotional peak
the emotional
in the
people were there,
narrative
and
for us as an audience and for you as a filmmaker came with the religious ceremony, and after that the homecoming scene wouldn't have made any sense.
Yeah.
Wow, you're very stringent storyteller. I really admire that. You're not sort of obliging to some kind of narrative convention, which I think is, I had some, maybe weird for you as a Frenchman, but I'll be honest and tell you my association. I thought about Chantal Akerman's work a little bit when I watched this movie.
She's Belgium.
She's Belgium, sorry. Okay, well.
Yeah, but she's great.
She makes movie in French. She has made a wonderful movie called Jeanne Dielman, which is a 4-hour movie about a Belgian housewife. That's correct. And in this film, the narrative is that nothing happens. And in a narrative where nothing happens, when a little thing then happens, it becomes a big drama. And I had that thought when your main character was on the road. I'm not saying that nothing happens, but compared to Jurassic Park or different kind of movie, it's sort of non-dramatic. Yeah. So the fact that a truck suddenly passes him and creates a cloud of dust, or his bicycle trips over, becomes a huge drama within this little universe, this bubble you created of the cinema of nothing happens, or slow cinema, however you want to describe it. Who are your filmmaking heroes? I mean, who to tell this very stringent, very sort of, it takes a lot of courage as a filmmaker to trust that a narrative as simple as this is going to entertain an audience for 90 minutes. Is that something you worry about? Who are you inspired by, if not Chantal Akerman? I mean, it's a genre of cinema that I feel that I'm missing, and I was very pleased when I saw your movie that you had the guts to sort of say, this is my story. A guy burns some coal, he takes it to the market on his bicycle, and that's it. And I'm trusting that the audience will be entertained and moved by this simple narrative. Could you talk a little bit about that choice and how you're trained as a filmmaker? Who are your inspirations?
That was the big thing, to think that it's possible to tell a story like that, just so simple. And as you said, when you are very simple and when you are very focused on one thing, you realize that anything can be a drama and very emotional and very important, and that's what I like in this kind of doing things. You go deeper in something, and that's the kind of film I like. And as you asked before, for this film especially, it's different for any films, but for this film, Bellatar was someone I thought about a lot, about a horse of Turin's horse, especially for the first shot. I don't know if someone saw it here, but the first traveling, there is a long sequence with I don't get it now. Horse.
The horse.
Yes. So the way it was filmed, it's a long sequence shot, which is already a film, just because you are already in an atmosphere, in an energy where everything is important, and that's what I'm trying to do. And also for this film, because I don't have any God, but for this film, I thought a lot also about Gus Van Sant's Jerry, the film Jerry, where two people are lost in the desert and they just walk most of the time. And but you have the feeling of what it is to be lost in the desert. And that's what I'm interested in. It's only about what kind of feeling can you get from a film. It's not, and the story helps you to have this kind of feeling and this kind of sensation, but the story, it's just a tool. It's not the end of the day. It's not the end.
Makes total sense. I don't know. Do we have time for any questions from the room? No.